I am exercising and I decided to stop here. Let's breathe a little today and let's talk about Children Are a Lottery Part 2. 1 second example about this topic that I have already addressed in the first video. I talked a little about what happened to Dr. Nastra's son and all that. And now we come back with another example, a little more recent, than is the example of the guy who robbed the bank. If you see the videos critically and carefully, do you realize that the father and the mother initially and the rest of the family, putting aside the children from the rest of the family, do you realize what kind of family they are? So making this little observation, we quickly realize that they are not a criminal family. They are not a troubled and problematic family. It is evident that they are a classic, humble, hardworking Dominican family that also worked hard to raise their children into moral and social values. They do different kind of activities living, and you have a young man, one of the brothers who have a company or works for a trucking company, another of the brothers that works together with the first brother, which I guess was the older brother. Then there's the one who robbed the bank. Who is this? He was supposedly known as an actor and model and a lot other number of things. Some people who have had a different upbringing are taking as a reference point the parents. There was no reason why that upbringing will push them to do what I did. Everyone at some point has had financial problems personal with people, debt of that type things, and not all of think of robbing a bank in the first place. No one makes its debut or start in the world of crime by robbing a bank. That's too weird. That is not what we learned from watching Netflix documentaries. In most of these documentaries, you see that many of the people who start to commit crimes, they begin to commit crimes with nonsense, and then they increase the level of crime. Even if you watch the Hollywood documentary, Who Was a Bank Robber in the 90s, I think it was the end from the 80s, 90s. This was a famous American bank robber that within the criminal things he did, he was involved in drugs traffics, methamphetamines and crystal. He quit it because of fear and because the business got dangerous. And one of his partners ended badly, ended dead. So he decided to continue in crime. And what was the first thing that came to his head? To rob a bank. His first robbery was stupid. A lot of bad things happened, but they did not caught him or followed him up because the investigation was quickly finished. They thought that this was a single-time, small-time robber, and eventually that someone was going to grab him for another reason or crime. It doesn't matter which one. Hollywood crimes were increasing, learning and improving the methods to rob the bank, and then the criminal returned to rob banks non-stop for 5 years at least. Back to the topic of Children Are a Lottery. If you are the father or mother of the bank robber, knowing that they have already killed one of the criminals, this is tough for them. The bank robber first said that his brother was not involved and that he was the only one guilty. Then he admitted that his brother was there and that his brother was the only one knowing where the money was. His brother and another party. The problem is both of them are already shot dead by the police. So he robbed the bank and he doesn't know anything about the robbery. He supposedly robbed the bank with 3 more people and he doesn't even know where the money is. And he doesn't know basically anything. He doesn't know if his brother was or wasn't involved in this robbery. He knows nothing. He broke into a bank using a mask with some other people, and he doesn't have a single detail about this. These are the tricky things about the Dominican. I would have no doubt that they will run out arguments to put a strong penalty on that guy, because those people who have a lot visibility in the media are always surrounded themselves with good lawyers who are extremely good for these cases and take advantage of how old our laws are. Laws not adapted to this year 2024. These lawyers win renown with this type of cases. Again, that's the lesson. You can waste yourself trying to raise your girls and boys with good manners, and friends or known people can destroy your work. I'm not saying this is what happened in this case. I'm not saying that he was encouraged to do things wrong. He could be the one encouraging the others. Maybe I say this because one of the 2 brothers was who got into that world first and pushed the other brother into it. One of the 2 brothers was brainwashed, and then he brainwashed the younger brother, or maybe this brainwashing came from one of the parties. So at the end of the day, you do what you have to do for your children, and if someone comes out from nowhere and wants to put these ideas in your son's head because he knows how to get it into his head, he knows how to influence him, and if this other guy says, hey, let's do this, let's do that, I know how to get away with, everything is going to be fine, you won't be able to avoid it. You're not going to be able to. You can raise all the moral barriers and limits that you want. You won't be able to avoid it. I know lots of people, I know lots of cases in which daughters of religious parents who are Catholic, who are Adventists, who are Jehovah's Witnesses, who are an example in the community of seriousness, among other things. And these girls got pregnant at school having only between 14 or 15 years old. Nothing out of normal in Dominican Republic. I know more than 5 or 6 people close to me who went through that. I know cousins from religious upbringing that shared boyfriends among them. They fucked their husbands and wives and all that, and they were all from the same religion. So the parents are a perfect example of how a human being needs to behave. They are an example to society, and the children are just trash. Many people say that this is because the parents don't spend time with their kids, because they don't pay attention to them, because they leave now and leave them being raised by a tablet, watching television, social networks. You can have 700 reasons or maybe excuses, but I think that external influences will always be there. And if are a son or daughter of parents who spend the whole day working, you know that a large part of the day you spent it alone or with your friends, and that time, that big part of the time that you spend alone with friends, you are susceptible of being brainwashed to convince you of things that you want to do, and even invent yourself nonsense, doing things, stupid things. I will give my own example today, so you have an idea. My own example is that my mother and my dad both worked until 5 p.m. p.m. and I loved and still love my bike. I'm still riding bicycle here. The thing is that every time I was going further and further away. I had that their parents did never pay that much attention to him or what he was doing. Shout out to my friend Joel. Joel has always been a hard worker too. Since he was little, he has done whatever he wants, and he also had a very nice bike. He was my biking partner, and I believe he still lives in the Onsan Siana Daria Maya Siana Ionta in Onsanj Espailha 5 Street. Joel Abreu is his name, and he is my friend for real. Riding bikes with Joel, I went with him further and further away. And one day an uncle of mine saw me very far away from home. He told my mom, and my mom punished me by taking my bike away for a long time. I am okay. I left without permission. I was very far away. Anything could happen to me and no one would know me or where was I from. I do understand now. I was only having fun. Thanks God I was disobeying my parents for such a thing like go riding my bike very far from the house. But after they locked my bike for a couple of months, something that I didn't really like, but when they finally let me use it again, I had already found something else to do. I played more time in the streets. I met more people. I did new things. And finally they said like the boy is making his life. If he wants to have your bicycle, you can have your bicycle. All this to tell you that although I had and have had until now, because my parents are still alive, an excellent education coming from my parents, I had influences from friends who made me do things against my parents' education. Go and ride my bike hidden from my parents when I was always told not to go past that street, or you shouldn't go too far from such a place, or don't go too far to that place. They told me clearly and explained the reasons why, and I know they were, and I did it anyway. So going back to the bank robber, those people have a good family. His brother was seen crying, his mother, his dad, the uncles. They now have one of the dead brothers. The other brother is already in prison, and one of the supposed dead parties too. There is the reflection, just like previous reflection. If you like the video, click like, share if you think that it can be useful for others. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one. Until the next one.